Hi, everyone in the audience. We're just going to give a couple minutes to let more audience members trickle in. Then we'll get kicked off by my team member, Kenton, over here on the left. And then we'll get into the bulk of the presentation by Jacob. Thank you all for coming today.
All right, how are we looking, Olivia? Or gosh, I was going to say Olivia. How are we looking, Alyssa?
Looks good, Kenton. I think you are good to go.
Right. Well, appreciate everybody hopping on today. Like many of us are in the afternoon, some are probably still in the morning. So appreciate everybody taking time out of their day today to learn a little bit about this use case that Jacob will be running you through here in just a minute. My name is Kenton Schultz. I'm our Director of Sales here at Cigital. Just going to give you a real quick introduction to who Cigital is, and then we'll kick it over to Jacob for the presentation here on the webinar. So just a little bit about us. If you're not familiar with Cigital, I see some names out there that I recognize, but maybe some of you are not familiar with us. We are a ServiceNow pure play implementation and consulting partner. Been in the ecosystem of Cigital for about 8 years. I think most of the people on the team average somewhere in the 8 to 10 years on it, with I know several of them above that 10-year mark. Not a slide guy, so just the one thing I always call out here is our teams do excellent work, and I always point out that 95% number down there. 95% of our customers that we engage with will usually continue to re-engage us for multiple engagements, be it ongoing platform support or implementation efforts. And that really just says to the great work that Jacob and his peers do on our technical team. My deck is not working. There we go. So we operate across a number of different industries. And if you look on the right-hand side, we do have a number of different product offerings across most of the areas of the platform, including some offerings in the AI space, which we'll be talking about today, both AI readiness, but also a starter implementation pack to get you started on your journey there. The middle is really the heart of Cigital. Those are the breakdowns of our 3 teams. They all work hand in hand and tandem together, but we break down the way we look at the ServiceNow platform into what we call workflows and engineering. So workflows, if you've been around ServiceNow for a while, those are your traditional ITSM, CSM, SPM, FSM areas. The engineering teams focus more on those the data and the integrations and more of that engineering skill set. So your ITOM, your asset management and security. And then that bottom banner there, our committed capacity team is our ongoing support team. So those are the guys and gals that will continue to work with you as part of your team, both making recommendations on best practices, helping you through upgrades, helping you unwind customizations, et cetera, basically an extension of your team to help you in any way that might be necessary. Again, ServiceNow is all we do. A little bit of some of our offerings, as I mentioned, we do implementations, we do ongoing support for those legacy customers who've been around ServiceNow for a while. And we're here back in the build it days before some of the SKUs and modules existed. We work with a lot of clients to unwind some of those customizations and get you back to a healthy spot and be able to adopt some of that new functionality that comes out in those biannual releases. And then lastly, again, like I said, we work across many different areas. We've got teams that are skilled in a lot of different verticals. And like I said, it's something we bring together. But that is it for me. I'll get rid of the sales guy and turn it over to the technical guy and the reason that we're here today. So Jacob, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that, Kenton. So let me just go ahead and get the screen set up and we can jump right into it. I know it's a very short 30-minute session. We have a lot of content to cover. So if you don't mind, I'll just give a little brief background on myself before we then jump into the presentation. And then Kenton, can you just confirm that you can see my slide screen?
Yeah, we are all set.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. So just a little brief bio about myself. I'll keep it super short and sweet. Is that my name is Jacob Dorner. I've been at Citadel for the past year and a half or so, but I've been within the ServiceNow ecosystem probably since around the 2016 space. And I've kind of done it all from anywhere from admin to developer to senior dev to now as architect and technical lead. So with that, I just kind of just jump right into it and thank you everyone for joining. And over the next 20 minutes or so, I'm going to show you something that we built within the ServiceNow tool that I think may alter the way you think about how interaction should be worked. And we're talking about something that is currently live within a production instance, handling real emails automatically for users. But before we get into the technology, I wanted to start a little bit about the problem that we try to address with our solution, because that's something that I hear about constantly and it doesn't matter how mature your ServiceNow environment is or how good your triage or internal teams are, most service desks are dealing with a lot of the same thing. And that's emails coming in that people need to read, they need to make a decision and act on them. And that's for every email, every interaction, all day, every day. And someone has to read every email. That's really the whole problem that we try to solve for here. And I know it sounds pretty simple, but kind of think about what that means at scale. So that means every email that hits your service desk, it needs a person to open it, figure out what it is, decide if it's a real incident or a request, or just someone asking a question, and then make a decision based off that information. And in addition to reading it, they need to decide what it is. They need to check for duplicates. They need to fill in the right category and priority for whatever ticket that gets generated from the interaction. And that's all information that's currently done manually by an individual. Now, if you multiply that by however many emails your team handles a day, that could be 100, a couple hundred, maybe even more. You quickly see how now you have a dedicated team who are really just they may have a lot more technical expertise, but they're really reduced to just managing and reading tickets. So here's what we built. We built a fully automated triage workflow that runs natively within ServiceNow using its already deployed tool. So there's no third-party tools. There's no custom APIs or middleware or other software you need to deploy within ServiceNow. This is just ServiceNow's own AI agent infrastructure doing all the work for your team. And really within that, there are three core capabilities. We have classification, which is essentially determining what kind of interaction that is. Your second one is you have duplicate detection. Before any ticket gets created, checking to see, hey, is there already an incident or another ticket for this interaction? And the third one is the complete creation of the ticket. So not just doing a simple copy paste from the interaction to the incident. We're doing true ticket creation. So not just a placeholder. So setting CI, assignment group, short description, priority, and all the core incident details that someone would need to actually work it. So now a question we got asked in the very initial stages of this was that why is this possible now? We've had some AI tools in the past from ServiceNow, but the real answer is that ServiceNow AI agent infrastructure is finally capable of being fully up to the task. They've really baked it natively within the tool, so you don't need to be able to you don't need to access outside tools or resources for this implementation. And if you look at the left side of the screen, you'll see that keyword routing rules, custom scripts outside the platform, external APIs, with all the data governance concerns that come with them. There's no audit trail. These are the approaches that exist today in a lot of environments. And a lot of times when your process changes, a lot of those things break because it's relying on people. And when someone leaves with that legacy knowledge, a lot of times you have the newer individuals coming in to replace them who don't know what to do or why certain individuals may have made decisions before, simply because they're relying on their past experience to make a decision. And on the right side of the screen is what the AIA, short for ServiceNow's AI infrastructure, enables for you. It enables native orchestration within ServiceNow. It allows you structured agent design with real tool contracts. So every decision is written to the work notes, and there's always a clear record of what the AI did and why it did it when it did it. So now let me give you some context on the actual client situation that we looked to originally solve with this implementation. We're going to look at what the inbound flow actually looks like for the customer, where the human bottleneck was sitting, and the 3 specific things the platform needed to do to automatically resolve their issue. Just pause for a sec. Perfect. So here's what the process looked like before. Before, users were emailing the service desk about IT issues, which is completely normal. ServiceNow was already set up to receive those emails and convert them into interaction records automatically. So that part was working fine for the client. The gap, which you can see highlighted in red on your screen, was right in the middle of all that. So every single one of those interactions still needed manual review via a human to read it, decide what it was, check for duplicate tickets for that interaction already, and potentially create a ticket if it was a valid issue. So that judgment call was always happening manually, potentially hundreds of times a day. And some of the results from that were they had variable quality, they had delays, they had duplicate tickets whenever the same issue hit multiple systems at once there, and they had inconsistent categories depending on who was making the call at any particular time of the day. And that's not necessarily because the team wasn't trained right or they weren't intentionally doing a bad job. It's just because when you're manually triaging at volume, you're going to, there are just natively going to be inconsistencies in your process. So what we set down for this client was to design the solution. And with that, we started with 3 very specific requirements. The first one was to classify the email. And with that, we didn't just want to decide, hey, is this an incident or is this not an incident? We wanted to be able to provide the client even more detail than that, which are, we want to be able to say, hey, is this an incident? Is this a request? Is it a status call? Is it info? Is it a wrong number? Because that granularity matters, because that with each decision, that outcome requires a completely different response, either from the human or the AI agent down the line. And the second stage of that was to check for duplicates. So before creating any other ticket in the system needed to look at active incidents for that caller and see how similar they were. So we weren't just doing basic keyword matching, we were building in actual similarity scoring. So, and the reason for that was because we didn't want any time someone emails saying, hey, my email still isn't working. Hey, my Teams still isn't working. We didn't want that to create another ticket every single time. And third, as part of this, was to create a complete incident. So not just a basic incident that just copies over your short description. We wanted a true incident that didn't need to be triaged again. We wanted it so an agent could pick it up and immediately work on it and work that ticket. So with that, it came setting the category, the subcategory, the priority, the CI, the assignment group, either via just a static group or the support group that exists for that CI. And that's all filled in at the creation of that incident before it even actually formally gets assigned out to an assignment group. Right, so now let's look into a little more detail on how we actually built that. With this solution, there was 3 agents, 3 jobs, and each one maps directly to one of the requirements that I detailed on the previous slide that I just described. So with this solution, we used 3 agents that all ran in sequence. One didn't run without the other. So think of it as a specialist with a single job. So each agent didn't overlap or do the other role of another agent. They were very unique, but they worked in tandem with each other perfectly. And each agent only ran when the conditions were right. For example, agent 2 only fired if agent 1 says that, hey, I am confident this is an incident. And agent 3 only fired if agent 2 said, yep, I'm confident this is an incident and there's no duplicate incident already. So go ahead and create the incident. And with this, the workflow has some built-in, some checks and balances and gates that we built in. So it never tries to make a decision on its own. We always instruct it to say, hey, in this scenario, we want you to do this. Don't just try to say, guess why it's an incident. We need you to be informed and tell us why it's an incident. So with agent 1, as you can see on your screen here, it reads the full content of the email. It's not just looking at the subject line or just doing a basic keyword search on that interaction or that interaction record that came from the email. And after that, it classifies it into one of 5 outcomes. And a lot of times the simple solution was just determine, hey, is it an incident or not? But we wanted to go beyond that. We wanted to say, hey, is this an incident? Is this a request? Is someone asking about an existing ticket? Or is this just informational saying, hey, I just wanted information about something. Nothing's necessarily broken. I don't need a request. Or, hey, was this a wrong number? Did someone open a ticket for our team and it's not an actual IT issue at all? Let's just say it's an HR issue, or hey, this ticket doesn't even apply to our company. They're just confused. We wanted the agents to be able to make that decision and explain why and for each one of those scenarios. And I know this slide is a little bit more technical, but I know for a fact we have some technical folks on the call. But essentially here, this just details the output of each agent and what it's passing to the following agents. And in the middle, in the like say incident and high medium, that's what the following agent is looking for. So agent 1 has that column of outputs. Agent 2 also has those following column of outputs, but it's looking to make sure it's looking for the output of incident high or medium from agent 1 as well before it proceeds. Same thing with agent 3. It's looking for, hey, I need you to have all those outputs from agent 2, and I need you to tell me that I'm confident there is no duplicate incident for this. And quickly for agent 2, agent 2 only runs if agent 1 classified the email as an incident with high or medium confidence. If it did, this is what happens. It searches for active incidents for that user, it scores how similar they are. So it's not just doing keyword searching, it's looking at keywords overlaps, it's looking at the affected service of those other incidents, and it's looking how close the overall like short description and summary of those other incidents match to its potential new incident to see if a new one needs to be created or not. And the last agent, which is the most detailed agent, is the actual incident creation incident. So it got past agent 1, it got past agent 2. Now it's ready to actually create the incident itself. And with that comes the category and subcategory. So with this, the agent actually calling ServiceNow's own category API and selecting from the actual values within the ServiceNow instance. It's never going to invent a value. It's only going to pull from your valid categories within your and subcategories within your system and use those to inform its decision on what your category and subcategory should be. Priority, kind of similar to category, it's going to pull your priority values from the system. But in addition to that, it's also going to provide a justification of why it believes it's that specific priority. Configuration item is the next thing it tries to set. This one we configured it so it's looking at 6 months of historical incident data to really try to get a pretty good grasp on what it believes the configuration item is. Same thing with assignment group. It's very similar to this configuration item. It's going to look at your historical incidents to see, hey, what have we previously routed these kind of tickets to before? And I know we're limited on time, so these couple slides here, I'm going to quickly go through to make sure we get to the pre-recorded demo portion. So this right here is just a little detail about what we're going to show on the demo. You can see here that we're going to go over 4 real scenarios. We're going to go over the longest path, which is a clear incident, which is essentially, hey, an email comes into the system. We determine it's an incident. There is no duplicate incident already for this, so we're going to go ahead and create an incident. Second scenario that's going to be covered is it's going to find a duplicate, and it's going to stop there, and it's going to let the human agent know, saying, hey, we found a duplicate. Please review now and decide what you want to do next. Third one scenario is the status check. So this is someone just emailing in about an existing ticket potentially and saying, hey, I want an update on this. And the last one is where an email comes in and it's really a request. So someone is requesting a service or software to be installed or something like that. Just quickly skip through this slide as well. There's just a little bit more detail about the scenarios we're going to go through. With this, I will start. This is the first scenario again, where we're going to go ahead and determine an interaction is an incident and create the incident record. And I'll talk through this as well as it's happening. We can see here that the person emailed in essentially saying, hey, Teams is completely down for me since about 8 a.m. And they can open the app, but it immediately crashes whenever they try to join. And you can see here that the AI agent immediately picked it up and assigned it to itself and put it into work in progress. You can see here that based off the interaction type, it categorized it as a service failure, classified it as an incident, and it was highly confident that this was in fact an incident. And within some other details it provides a summary of the interaction record and its reasoning for why it believes it's an incident. And this check here, you can see the AI agent just put a work note saying, hey, I found no potential duplicate incidents for this record, so we're good to proceed in creating a new incident record. And this is just some of the details it applies into the work note. So it gives its priority, its urgency, why it believes it's that priority, its category, its assignment group source. So for this instance, it determined that the CI should be Microsoft Teams, but that specific CI in this example doesn't have a support group. So it applies a default support group that we configured. But if there was a support group applied to that CI, it would auto set it based off that assignment group. Just clicking into the incident record that was created. We can see here that it dynamically sets the short description with an AI short summary, and then it copies over the summary and detailed explanation from that interaction that it generated into the description for the user. We can see that it did in fact set the priority. It set the channel as email. It determined that the category was software since this was a Microsoft Teams issue. It was able to find the CI and set it, and it set the assignment group. And here I'll show, what we see here on your screen is that it just copies over all of the work notes from the interaction record. So when the agent looks at this, they have a full history of everything that happened. And one other detail too worth calling out is that the interaction record is automatically closed in this scenario once the incident is created. So now only the incident record needs to be worked. And In this scenario, we're going for the duplicate incident check. So I'm just going to quickly skip through to make sure we're good on time. You see that the agent still determined that this was an incident. It assigned it to itself. So now it's going to proceed to the duplicate incident check, where it should find the incident that was just created and link it to itself. Perfect. You can see here now that it found a related incident and found the one that we just created. You can see here that it gave it a score of 5. So what we're doing is we're breaking down the interaction record and the incident record into scores and assigning scores. So anything, say, over a score 4, potentially we're highly confident this is a duplicate incident, so we're going to link it to each other. And it also unassigns it from itself, leaving this ticket open for the triage individual to make a determination of, yep, this is a true duplicate, or no, this isn't a real duplicate. We can go ahead and create an incident. Just quickly skip through again. This one here is the status update. So you can see here that someone emailed in saying, hey, what's the update on my Teams ticket? I wanted to check on the status of it. Quickly skip through. Perfect. And you can see here in the work note, the AI agent picked it up and said, yep, I'm classifying this as a status call. Here's the summary, and here's the reason why I believe it's a status call. Perfect. And this last scenario here is a request, where the AI agent is going to try and determine that this is a request. You can see here that the person was requesting access to the Microsoft Teams software, and the AI agent was basically said, yep, I believe this is a request, and this is the reason why I believe it's a request. And this is just a little more detail about what everything I just showed. So these are the 4 scenarios we just covered. You have your broken application, you have your same issue already open, you have your status check on an existing ticket, and you have a request for system access. And currently the way it's built out, only the first scenario, broken application, when there's no duplicate, goes ahead and fully creates the incident record. And now we're getting a little more detail about the ROI and some of the benefits of using this. And some of the guardrails we intentionally put in place was that Agent 1, if it can't classify with sufficient confidence, it doesn't try to guess what the record is. So if you're like, hey, my confidence is low that this is an incident request, I need a human to step in. I'm not going to guess and potentially start having bad data within the system. Same thing for priority. So priority, we're never going to automatically set a P1. We're always going to make it decide. We're always going to leave that up to a human to decide that, yep, this is a P1. And configuration item, if the confidence is low, we're leaving it blank. We don't, because a blank CI shows up. You can auto set that. That's not going to contribute to bad CMDB data. A wrong CI can misinform the AI agent down the line, or even human users, about what an actual issue is. And here quickly, I know we're essentially at time, just quickly, is this is essentially the before and after. Before, you had a human that had to read, they had to categorize, they had to check for duplicates, they had to route, and they had to open the incident themselves. Now, the AI you just saw does that all within a minute, 2 minutes. It classifies what that incident is and creates the entire incident record, which meaning you have better quality data, you have consistent data, you're knowing you're getting the right category and queue the first time, every time, and you're able to track that via the audit logs, whether that be in the syslogs or the work notes as well. And quickly here, this is a little before and after. You see before, we see what ServiceNow provides and we see what Sigil provides. ServiceNow provides the framework itself and the tool. What we provide during this engagement was really the expertise. A lot of times the hardest part is getting that first initial agent created or that initial workflow created. But once you have that built, everything is easy. Now you can build additional agents and tools that are now relying on the infrastructure you already built within the system. You're not having to redo tools because a lot of the tools and decisions are already baked into the very first implementation. And this is quickly just this was the first workflow we built, but we can easily expand it upon others using the same framework that we already structured here. So we can easily expand this to virtual agent, portal, or even like direct API access if needed, or even change the trigger. If needed, we can very easily expand this to other workflows such as requests. So right now we were very focused on the incident side of things, but we're ready to determine if an interaction is a request or not. We can easily now have it create a request record or go some other path if needed. And same thing, we can expand upon the current infrastructure we already built. So expanding to say, hey, after incident, I want you to now send emails to the caller to let them know, hey, we're reviewing your ticket, or hey, caller, I need additional info because yes, we created this incident, but we were still unclear about some certain aspect of that incident. And with that, that is the entire portion. So for that, what we kind of showed you is that how we can have fewer manual decisions, we can have fewer duplicates, we can hopefully have better ticket quality and consistent ticket quality. And with that, I know we're technically over time, so I'll defer to Ken if we want to run over or not, but yeah.
Yeah, Jacob, just appreciate that. Yeah, I want to let everybody know we will send out the recording afterwards. For those of you who are able to stick on for a brief second, I know there's a couple of questions that we'll pitch over to Jacob for some answers there. And when we send everything out, we'll definitely have some contact information. So if you do have to drop and you have some additional questions for Jacob or the team, feel free to send those over, or we can always obviously set up a couple of minutes for you to chat with them. So Jacob, first question that we had was,
yep.
Did you build these utilizing Agent Studio?
Correct. Yep. Everything was built using the Agent Studio within ServiceNow.
Okay, perfect. Next question that we had was just asking the reasoning behind or the benefit to breaking these agents up instead of having a single agent. Was that more of a checks and balances, or was there a better, broader purpose for that?
A lot of it was checks and balances, then also the ability to scale this out. So like we wanted the ability to like, hey, we may have a scenario in the future where we just want our agent to check for duplicate tickets. So now we can easily break that out of this and just use that agent. Or same thing with agent 3, which is the actual incident creation agent. We want the ability, it's like, hey, we may have a use case down the line where we want someone to manually trigger agent 3, just create an incident from interaction record or some other ticket type. So a lot of it was a design choice to allow you to more easily expand to different areas of the system and not have to rework potentially your entire solution because it's so siloed into just one agent.
Excellent. We got a question from Scott regarding the duplicate check. Is that only checking if there's a duplicate from the same caller or user, or is it comparing against similar open incidents?
So at this current iteration, yes, it is only looking for duplicate incidents for that caller. And then a next phase that we've been looking into and are actively creating will be, so look for duplicate incidents for other callers as well to see potentially, hey, do we have a major incident? Because now we have 20 callers calling in about a Microsoft Teams down issue.
Okay, then a question from Octavia, just asking, where does the agent itself reside? Is it sitting on top of Outlook or using an email to incident feature within ServiceNow?
So this is actually because currently for our customer, they already have an email into interaction inbound action. So what we're doing is we're looking at interactions that were created via email and having that be our trigger for our agentic workflow to kick off.
Okay. And then for this particular build, interactions are what triggers the start of this agentic workflow, is that required initially, or was this a specific case for the client?
It was a specific case for the client. The client for this scenario was spending a lot of time having to work and triage interactions, so that they really wanted their focus on trying to reduce their interaction count as much as possible. Or not necessarily the interaction count, but the time spent on interactions as much as possible.
And then for their email ingestion process, is that out of the box or customization there, or what did that look like?
So it is pretty standard out-of-box implementation. So when an email comes into the system, to have it create an interaction record. We just had to modify some things since the customer and client had some additional fields, but for the most part, the out-of-box implementation is emailed to an interaction record for ServiceNow.
Okay, just looking to see, I believe we've hit everything there. Yeah, I think we have we've addressed all the questions there, excuse me. But yeah, thank you everybody for joining us today. For those of you who stuck around a little bit extra, really appreciate it. As mentioned, we will send out the recording and the deck. Please let us know any additional questions that you might have, any assistance that you can need, and certainly not just on this particular use case, but as mentioned, a lot of focus around getting people started on that initial journey in AI. Those who aren't quite there yet, helping get their instance ready to begin that journey, unwinding customizations, improving data, as well as those people or those clients who have taken that first step or two, is helping them mature their journey and expand it from there. But thank you everybody for joining us. Yeah, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday.
Thank you.